Miami Hurricanes baseball is headed to Hattiesburg. Here's how the Hurricanes match up in the Southern Miss Regional.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen or your second listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On this episode, we'll talk about Miami, 3 seed in the Hattiesburg Regional. They're set to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide in their first game. We'll talk about how they got there, the season, and what chances they have as we bring on our baseball aficionado, Raymond, a.k.a. G.A. Canes fan. All right, so, Ray, when we were texting after, right after the selection, you wrote to me, Canes are screwed. I mean, why do you feel that way?
We are just got a really difficult bracket. First of all, we have to go to Hattiesburg, Southern Mississippi, and play against a 44-14 team that just won the Sun Belt, one of the better, one of the top 18, top 10 teams in the country. We'll go over them a little bit, and now we got to play Bama, who was 8th in the conference, I think, and then they were right above the Gators. They were 41-16, and this team is loaded with lots of award winners, and their roster is just extremely solid.
Man, yeah. So that's going to be on Friday in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. How do you think Miami fans are going to travel for that? I know at least a couple who are going. I think my guy Vishnu, who travels to like every possible Hurricanes road game and tournament. I know he's going to be there in Mississippi. Do you think Miami's going to have a good contingent out there?
I think they're going to have a few, but I'm not too sure how many. It's also a Friday game. The time hasn't been announced, but they'll travel. There's a lot of Miami Hurricane fans all over the country. So they'll show up. It'll be interesting with all the Southern Miss fans and Bama fans. The times have not been, as of this recording, it's not been released yet. But I expect it early. But also, we've also got play. I believe Columbia was also the 4th team that was in there. So that could be interesting. Miami has had problems all year playing against these so-called less than teams like FAU and FIU. They struggled all year with them. So it's like, this is the worst place they could have been. And we were talking all week, 2 weeks. Where they head? I heard Auburn, I heard Athens, I heard Nashville, I've heard Austin, I even heard either UCLA or USC. And then when the show came in, it was like first thing was Miami's going to Hattiesburg. I'm like, oh God. Yeah. So I'm scrambling, trying to get ready for the show and just trying to print out and grab as much as I can, going, oh, okay, I didn't expect that one. How these guys do professionally for basketball and scramble and be ready, look professional. God bless them. As a family man on a holiday weekend, it's tough, but it's going to be they'll travel. It's just going to be a tough road to, however, get to the next level. I mean, expectations. What are the expectations? Look respectable, maybe.
Well, and okay. So what is it going to take in terms of what we need to see from Miami's bats, like our guy Danny Dingers, Daniel Cuvet? What we need to see from Miami's pitching? Like what's it going to take? And you mentioned the 4 teams in this regional. Southern Miss, the hosts and the top seed in this regional, Bama at 2, Miami at 3. So that's our first matchup, and Columbia as the 4 seed. So, I mean, just talk about the baseball, Raymond. What are we going to have to see from this team to advance?
Basically, we got to keep our bats hot. Cuvet's had a really great end of the year. He's up for player of the year. Well, we need help all our other players. Bobby Marsh has had a really good year as well, too. I'm looking at the statistics, and where we've done, we see he's had 39 RBIs. But the biggest problem this year has been the pitching. They looked so incredible during that 8, 9, 10, 11 game ACC winning streak when they swept NC State, even though it's only 2 games, one was rained out. And they swept the number 1 seed, Georgia Tech. They looked like, hey, maybe they got this turnaround. JD's finally done it. And then just fell apart and won 1 game over the last 6 or 7, and then getting blown out by Cal with a mercy rule. I mean, the only thing worse is, we could have lost to either SMU or Syracuse. Oh, by the way, they have no baseball teams. So that's the only thing that's more embarrassing.
I didn't realize SMU doesn't have a baseball team either. I knew it about Syracuse because my guy Jackson Holzer complains about it. They don't have a baseball. I didn't know SMU doesn't have a baseball team?
No, they don't. There's been rumors, but that's for another show. But no, they don't have one. Believe it or not, in Texas, as a baseball crazy state, sports crazy state. So the biggest thing is the pitching. Our pitching has just gone horribly wrong, especially in a relief. We can't hold a lead. Our bats went cold when our pitching goes soft. It's just like inconsistent. Either everybody's on or everybody's off. There's no in between. At the beginning of the season, it was horrible. We had a great season in the middle of the season, and at the end, it just completely fell apart. So to beat Bama is going to be extremely difficult because they're probably going to give us a pitcher here. I'm going to cheat here and grab my statistics sheet. They're going to probably go start Carson Ozer, and I apologize to anybody that's incorrect, but he's up for pitcher of the year. He's got 2.89 ERA. He's really special, a really good one, and their batters are just like it's just an incredible amount of guys that hit it, doubled it, 20 home runs. You've got 2 all SEC players. You've got 2 all SEC players. You've got one guy, a reliever. He's a 13 saves. Riley Quick, or Tommy John surgery. You've got, I'm going to count here real quick. You've got 4 guys on this roster that have got over double-digit home runs. Miami's got 1. Gee, I wonder who that is. Hi, Dan.
I wonder.
It's going to take, I'm going to say a miracle, but they've got to play the perfect game. And if they don't, I mean, honestly, I see them probably losing to Alabama, unfortunately. Sorry, buddy. And maybe they'll go back and play Columbia and see which team shows up. And then they'll play the loser of the the SMU. So look what you got to be doing now. Southern Miss, Alabama. It's a double elimination, 4 teams, double elimination. It'll go until Sunday. I expect an elimination of 1 and 2. And I just hope we can actually pull against Columbia. Just be respectable at this point in time. I'm going to see the team that saw against NC State, against Georgia Tech. Be respectable, but definitely the only way to win this thing, or at least be in a championship of this region, this sectional, is going to have to be perfect pitching, and the relief's going to have to really stay steady. We've seen glimpses of that. Pitching's mental a lot of the ways. If they're thinking of looking at losing, and this gets to the back of their mind, they start getting racked, and it keeps them back to their brain, it's going to really hurt this team, and they're not going to win. Like I said, I saw NC State where they were down, and they came back and won. The pitching held up even when they got racked. But lately, it's expected for the early part of the season.
I mean, I think it's just really going to depend on which Miami shows up. Is it the team that went on that double-digit ACC winning streak where I think they showed they can hang with anybody in the country, getting those big sweeps, or is it the team that started and ended the season? And it makes me feel a little old when I was reading some of the historical Miami baseball stats, because the last time they won a regional was 2016. So it's been a hot second here, and that was on their en route to a second straight run to the College World Series back then. Last time they won a regional on the road was 2006. So you're working against history here, but I hope we can see it happen. And whoever wins this regional is going to face the winner of the Nashville regional that Vanderbilt is hosting. So in the super regional, I should say. So hopefully we can keep the run going, Raymond, because I see I want another magical run in town, right? The Miami Heat failed me. Basketball team didn't make the tournament this year. Florida Panthers are trying to win their second straight Stanley Cup. I want to see Canes baseball playing deep into the summer.
Yeah, I would like to as well, too. But the bottom line, it's all about talent. We suffered for years with the football program being bad. It's just enjoy the game. But I want to see these young men do the best as they can. I saw your interview, and if they're not quitting, I mean, that's the one thing I will say. They aren't quitting. They're just having a lot of bad luck and just not playing well. I mean, there's a difference between not playing well and quitting, and this team definitely isn't quitting.
Right.
They could have quit, and they had that run. JD kept saying, hey, these kids got to relax and have fun. That's what they should do. It's like, this is going to be it for some of you guys. You're never going to play ball again on a major level. You're not going to be drafted by the baseball. So enjoy every second of this. Enjoy this tournament, because this could be it for you all. And then it's the real world, and the real world sucks as an adult.
No lies there. Well, hopefully we'll see everybody in Hattiesburg, and then hopefully, maybe on to Omaha. I can dream. A man can dream.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe the Dolphins make a Super Bowl next year. Oh, that won't happen either. But maybe let's get the Vanderbilt. If we get the Vanderbilt, then maybe I'll make the road trip to there. But we'll see. But just enjoy it. I'll sit back and watch. And we'll see where it goes, and we'll see what happens also with recruiting, and then we'll have the fun with the transfer. Because the one thing I really didn't realize is we only talked once. We just had horrible time this year with baseball between your schedule and my schedule. But what I learned was only 3 or 4 players from last year's squad didn't transfer or leave for the pros. So this was a brand new roster. So here we are with the NIL and transfer rules. It's a new roster every year. JD's going to survive, by the way. Man, when a lot of people on fire, I'm not sure he's the guy, but then again, I'm not sure he's got the resources to win. That's a huge deal. So he's definitely back next year. He's already advertising his pitching camp. So when I saw that last night, I'm like, he's not going to get fired. And everyone kept saying he's tournament. Not. I expect no changes coming up this offseason, depending on how far Miami goes. Let's see him get out of Hattiesburg. I think most people like to get out of Hattiesburg in general. But get away from Brett Favre, God forbid.
That's right. I didn't even think about that. Well,
I remember playing small ball. I was a college freshman. He was at Southern Miss, and when he beat Alabama in Jacksonville, I remember that game really well. But if they can be respectable here, win a game, they get eliminated. There's not a lot of shame in that against the teams they're playing against. There's none. Bama was actually supposed to be a host. That was almost one of the people that was one of the places Miami was going to go was going to go to Alabama. I was hoping either Alabama or Auburn so I could actually go to it, but it just didn't work out. But still hold your heads high, go into next season, figure out what needs to be done, and start recruiting. I mean, you don't hear a lot about recruiting, and the baseball draft, no one really cares about, but that's really late this year. Back in the 80s and 90s, that baseball draft usually was right around now when the kids were graduating out of high school, and they would automatically start going to the extended spring training. But now it's not until the All-Star game, which is in July.
Ooh,
and that is really strange. And a lot of the agents hate that. And I do too. It's like, we're putting these kids and the baseball coaches in a really bad peril because they're not sure who can sign, who's going to go, and they can college. We can really mindset that. In fact, I'm going to mess up the name. A couple of years ago, they had the number 1 player who was drafted, but he was signed because of Miami, and they lost him. I'm sorry I forgot his name. It just kind of came to my head. But that's a problem right now, I think, in college baseball and pro baseball. Plus, we're getting ready. I'm hearing more of an article that they want to shrink the minor leagues even more in Major League Baseball. I mean, we're headed toward a lockout. We're headed toward a Major League Baseball lockout. And it's going to be a long one. It's just overdue. And also redoing the minor league. So I'm hearing more and more baseball's want these kids go play college baseball for a couple of years, then come see us. And that's good for them because at least you start your education. At least you're getting a couple years in, you're getting your undergrad stuff done. If not, you're starting your major. And that's a good thing.
I think so too. Well, we appreciate your time, and hopefully Miami can get out of Hattiesburg successfully with some wins. All right.
Absolutely.
We appreciate our guy Raymond. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, check out all of the other episodes we've done in recent days. First day of the week, we want to say blessed Memorial Day to all, and we will talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.